A new youth council has been created in order to better represent 1.2 billion young people across the world. The Commonwealth Youth Council, or CYC, is now the biggest global youth representation structure in the world, covering 53 countries. We want to find out if the CYC will actually give youth a voice, and whether it will be heard.
Previously, young people were represented at the Commonwealth Youth Forum, which met for 4 days alongside the heads of government meeting. The CYC will be a permanent, independent organisation with a more democratic structure. We're here in Hambantota, Sri Lanka for the first General Assembly of the CYC, where delegates have decided its policies for the first 2 years. They've also elected a new executive board, which will aim to carry out its policies, and it's the General Assembly's responsibility to hold it to account. Commonwealth youth are represented on the CYC through their national youth councils, who choose voting delegates to attend the General Assembly.
We took a step back and asked young people, why weren't we doing it right? And they said to us, first of all, it was very fragmented. The structures were very weak. There was no accountability. We had lots of wonderful events, like the Youth Forum, like the Ministerial Forum, but what do they really mean? And so we had to go back to the drawing board. And working with young people, we said, well, let's look at the models that we have. Let's take the best of what we can afford and let's merge into something that would be best for the Commonwealth young person. So for example, the Youth Forum, which was a wonderful space every 2 years with heads, how could we better use that space where it becomes a celebration of youth, leadership and ability? And that's what we tried to do this year, transitioning the council from just a forum into a kind of a General Assembly that will move forward.
We spoke to people at the forum to find out what their hopes were for the new youth decision-making body.
I do believe that in the first phase of what the council does, it will be about advocacy, simply because I think that's where it can draw on its credibility to actually stand up for the views of young people across the Commonwealth, and currently there isn't that mechanism, and I believe that it can engage with its major stakeholders, which are young people, by advocating for their issues at the highest levels in the Commonwealth.
It's an opportunity for the youth to make protests, to tell the world their problems. Then they should be encouraged, they should be told even that this is an opportunity. If we have anything against the government, we can tell the world, come out, let's have our voices heard, let's speak to the world.
Some of our Canadian colleagues who unfortunately couldn't be here have been talking about making sure that the Commonwealth Youth Council gets a full voting seat on the Executive Council of the Commonwealth. So that's within the Commonwealth being a decision maker. But also externally, the Commonwealth, for example, has an observer seat in the UN. And what would be really interesting is if the observer seat that usually remains unfilled in the UN was, when their youth have issues to talk about, was used to allow young people to champion their voice. That would be one of the first times that a regional or pan-regional platform, an observer to the General Assembly, has allowed young people to really fill that space.
The Council also has the opportunity to stand up against Commonwealth nations on contentious issues, such as LGBT rights. The CYC Constitution states that people should not be discriminated against based on their sexual orientation, whereas 77% of Commonwealth nations make it illegal to be gay.
As well as the opportunities, of course, there are going to be challenges along the way. Those include funding, how representative national youth councils are, and the CYC's autonomy and freedom of voice.
The parameters will not be, of course, boundless. They will have much restraint. The Commonwealth doesn't have unlimited resources. But we're hoping that member countries will begin to see a different vision for Commonwealth young people and will begin to invest in them. And we're already seeing some of the governments saying, oh, we could tap into this new part of the Commonwealth, which is the largest part, 60%, and let's see how that could serve the Commonwealth better.
We are here primarily for the youth. Irrespective of our relationship with any other organization, our target is the youth. So we still try to maintain a good relationship with the government. Wherever there is need to make agitation or to advise the government or any other nation to do more for the youth, or tell them that you are not doing the right thing, we will do that. And we may not necessarily rely on the government or the countries within the Commonwealth. There are lots of other private organizations and donor agencies that are really there to support us, ready to support us.
It's hard for the Commonwealth Youth Council to identify specific needs and aspirations of young people from the Commonwealth at all levels, because they have to do some kind of national consultation that also engage local communities and indigenous people, because we have so many young people part of the indigenous communities, and it's not easy for a youth council elected during 2 years to do that, because we have 53 countries, 53 countries, which is a lot.
The big question is, how radical will this council be, considering that more and more youth in the Commonwealth and beyond are taking to the streets to have their voices heard?
No youth council or youth forum is the most radical voice on the block. In fact, actually, if a youth council or youth forum was the most radical voice on the block, I would be worried. I want the most radical voice on the block to be the young people on the streets, the young people trying to bash the door down. The role of the Commonwealth Youth Council and all youth councils is to be that interlocuteur, to say to decision makers, look, I have an army, a mass of young people who are angry, who want change, who want a better life, and you, through me, can have a discussion about how we can achieve that. It is always about the compromise role. That's the role of the Youth Council. But what they need to do is have that connection with the young people on the street, the more radical young people, the people who are knocking the doors down and saying, let us in. And you can see that in a number of different examples where actually change would not have happened without the radical street protests, but quite equally it would have not have been secured for the long term without the negotiators inside the hall. And that's the role of the Youth Council.
We'll be watching to see whether the CYC is genuinely able to better represent the views of young people across the Commonwealth, or whether it will become just another international youth structure which adds little in what could be argued is an already overcrowded market.